So because I am so very timely with my content, today I'm going to be talking about the DICE Awards, that video game award show that happened a couple of weeks ago. Yes, I know, shut up, it's late, but trust me, it'll make sense, it'll all make sense. See, I just want to talk about one game from the awards show, one that I've recently played myself, and one that won DICE Awards 2019 Game of the Year. And that game is Death Stranding. Wait, what? It wasn't Death Stranding that won it? Well, what was it then? What, really? Shit.
Gotta do this again. And the winner is... how much better? Untitled Goose Game.
Yes, somehow Untitled Goose Game got the nod at the DICE Awards. The charming comedic game that sees you take flight as an arsehole with a beak took out the likes of Death Stranding, Resident Evil 2, Sekiro, Control and The Outer Worlds to take the crown as Game of the Year. Now I'm not entirely against this. Untitled Goose Game is a very good game. It's a fun romp, and tearing to bits a quaintly familiar British village is an endearing experience, one full of genuine slapstick laughs that few games can conjure. It's a refreshing take on a medium that's often so drab and morbid, injecting a bit of silly lightheartedness we seldom get a chance to experience. Thing is, when you take into context what the DICE Awards are, and their previous Game of the Year winners, Untitled Goose Game seems a bit of an odd choice. And to see why, it might help to understand where the DICE Awards originated. And now, a quick history lesson. Mostly informed by Wikipedia because this is a YouTube video and not a university dissertation, so go fuck yourself. The DICE Awards began in 1994. Well, sort of. They weren't actually called DICE yet. Instead, they were called Cybermania 94. I know.
Live from Universal Studios Hollywood, it's Cybermania 94. Celebrating the very best in computer and cartridge gaming and interactive entertainment. Now, please welcome your very live and very interactive hosts, Leslie Nielsen and Jonathan Taylor Thomas.
Cybermania 94 was the first televised award show of its kind to be dedicated to just video games. And it is as cringy mid-90s as they come, complete with the voice of Simba,
so get interactive and vote early.
Matthew Perry before the Coke days, and people who think it's cool to wear caps backwards.
Of interactive media available today that'll let you do anything from learning French to piloting a starship. We, the people of this show, must try Spark Bones, please.
I'm cool. Really cool. Anyway, Cybermania 94 didn't do that great, and despite a return the following year in 1995, it completely bombed with piss-poor ratings. I mean, what can you really expect from a money-grabbing lawyer? You see, Cybermania were an award show established by the Academy of Interactive Arts and Sciences, an organisation thought into existence by Mark Zucker, an entertainment lawyer who wanted to make his very own version of the Oscars, but for video games. The premise was even exactly the same. Set up an academy like the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, change the words around a little, fill it with professionals from the video game industry to vote on who would win what in a nationally televised awards ceremony that was nothing like the Oscars at all. No, really, it really wasn't anything like the Oscars at all, promise. Cross my heart. Anyway, the dude fucked it. He tried to shoehorn together two industries and two mediums that don't belong together, which resulted in something more disappointing than my own sexual performance. Sorry, Hannah, I do try. I really do. But, you know, I think 14 seconds is a good long distance run, that. In a very weird turn of events, Nintendo, Sega and the ESA banded together to reform the Academy of Interactive Arts and Sciences, but this time as a non-profit organisation. Lo and behold, the awards came back to life this time with a much more sensible name of the Interactive Achievement Awards, which would eventually become the DICE Awards in the early 2000s, when the ESA would pull their funding of the Academy and force the organisation to establish something called the DICE Summit. The DICE Summit would act as a gathering for Academy members and video game professionals to talk shop and actually give out the DICE Awards. Today, the winners of the DICE Awards are decided upon by around 33,000 of the Academy's members, with awards themselves being dished out across 23 categories. 23 categories. And due to the peer-decided nature of these awards, where Scummy Joe Public doesn't get to vote on stuff like this, the DICE Awards have become one of the most respected in the industry. And now that brings me full circle back to Untitled Goose Game, the winner of the most prestigious DICE Award, the Game of the Year, and the most unusual choice to date. Prior to this feathered knobhead taking the cake, or whatever else he feels like, the previous winners looked like this. 2010, Mass Effect 2. 2011, The Elder Scrolls V, Skyrim. 2012, Journey. 2013, The Last of Us. 2014, Dragon Age Inquisition. 2015, Fallout 4. 2016, Overwatch. 2017, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. And 2018, God of War. As you can see, Untitled Goose Game is amongst unfamiliar company. Each and every game of the past 10 years that won DICE Awards Game of the Year was, well, just better. And they were better in every sense of the word. Each one of these games' production values, impact on their respective year, gameplay mechanics, art direction, even their Metacritic rating was higher than Untitled Goose Game. Which begs the question, why? Why has this silly little game about an angry goose made the cut? Especially in a year that hasn't been exactly bad for video games. Death Stranding, Control, Outer Wilds, Sekiro, Resident Evil 2 are all games that could arguably take the Game of the Year nod, effectively pushing our beloved goose out of the picture. But no, not according to the Academy of Interactive Arts and Sciences. For them, the goose was better, and for one very simple and very obvious reason. It seems the innate irreverence of Untitled Goose Game says something rather relevant about the times we are living in today. On the surface, it is not a daring game, nor is it a deep mechanical experience, nor is it all that beautiful from a commonly accepted standard of beauty. The gameplay is basic puzzle solving through environmental reaction. Every task is laid out in front of you with no discernible challenge or complication in achieving them, beyond getting swatted for nicking a middle-aged woman's bra. And the vapid elements of stealth that do exist within the game are there without any real consequence. If you get caught, you just flap around a bit and go in for round 2. But all of this nonsense is done beautifully, succinctly, and without any fuss. These disparate elements stitched together to offer a video game whose inconsequential nature and goofiness actually make it one of the most consequential of 2019. It stands as a bright, comedic beacon in a time we often considered doomed. I mean, for some reason, our society has settled on the idea that everything in the world is dark, gloomy, and apocalyptic. There's the orange president that's going to bring the end of times via Twitter. There's that Democratic general election that'll apparently cause nuclear war and proves everyone who voted Team Blue is racist. And then there's that transgender powerlifter who has stolen all the female world records and ruined the sport for women that we should all love and support because once upon a time she chopped her knob off. These are panic fires stoked by media outlets that make everything a goddamn battle. It gives everyone a reason to be shocked, annoyed, angry or offended at menial bullshit that isn't really that bad. I mean look, this isn't 1939 or 2001 or 1862. This is 2020, where the world's knowledge is in the palm of your hand, where human life expectancy is at its peak, and where Mackie D's will shove a double cheeseburger through your letterbox for less than a £5. We simply live in the greatest of times. And I'm proof of that. Fucking hell, that's dry. Let's try that again. We simply live in the greatest of times. And I myself am proof of that. I am a cheap lowlife effectively living on a part-time salary, and I've somehow dragged myself into a position where I've bought a house that has a kitchen with soft closed drawers. And even now, amid the COVID-19 pandemic that's got the world in a very tight rear naked choke, we are still in a better position as a species than we ever were to tackle this thing. Despite the brevity of the situation we are all facing, our modern day relationship with technology has communicated the vital information we all needed faster than ever before. Our medical approach is at its pinnacle, and as such we are dealing with a public health crisis that could be far worse were it even just 10 years ago. Today is literally the best day to be a human being. The best day, hands down. And I guarantee you that tomorrow will be even better. And yet the media and the art that we consume will have you believe otherwise. The media digs us into a hole of no hope, of no light, where it can keep its pessimistic boot on our necks, to a point where we don't even beg for mercy anymore. We just become a part of the pessimism. But there is one hero in all this doom and gloom. One hero that we didn't know we needed. That slender-necked honker is here, rising above this pessimistic pile of shit, daring to remind us that sometimes tripping up a small child is funny, and doesn't require a Twitter moment to tell us all how horrible it is, because it's not. In fact, it's fucking hilarious. Every single time that specky twat hits the deck, I cry with laughter. Untitled Goose Game stands as a reminder that the world can be blissfully funny, full of quirk and whimsy. It's a symbol of what we are all in dire need of, that sweet, sweet release from the negative. And developer House has provided us that here, in a pure, distilled 3 to 4 hour stint as a goose. It simply gives us a link back to that childlike state of carelessness that is desperately needed in a world that cares far too much. And does that warrant it to be a game of the year? Well, frankly, yes. This whole list of games is fucking depressing. Brilliant, but depressing. Each one of them is a tale of turmoil, of horror, of loneliness. And the goose, he just wants to have a bit of a laugh. Something that we could all do with in 2020, but that a lot of us have forgotten how to do. Now the most important question that still stands, is Untitled Goose Game my game of the year? My game of the year 2019? Well, no. It's Death Stranding, for many reasons that I won't go into in this video. But that's not me trying to take anything away from Untitled Goose Game. It is without a doubt a deserved winner of the Game of the Year nod. It really is a wondrous game that deserves every single bit of praise thrown its way. Anyway, that's enough from me. That's enough from me in this video. I hope it wasn't as depressing as the last one. And I'm now going to go and nick my neighbour's washing and throw it in a pond. Right then.